You can support this channel by checking out the awesome deals on wrestling gear in the links of the description of this video. Thank you for the support. Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in to the Fair Fight Wrestling Podcast. My name is Theron, and we are going to be talking about our predictions, or let me correct myself, your predictions of this Sunday's Battleground. And let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking going into this pay-per-view, because quite frankly, I'm having a hard time getting invested in this show. I think this is very much the definition and a capsule of that B-ranked pay-per-view, right? This is I feel like this is the go-home pay-per-view before SummerSlam. I would love to be proved wrong. I would love to come into this and say I had very low expectations and they blew my mind away. But quite frankly, I feel like this is the type of pay-per-view that I could probably skip on Sunday, watch it the following week and fast forward and save myself 3.5 hours. But let me know what you think. And speaking of letting me know what you think, if you follow us over on Twitter at Fairfight Audio, you can actually participate every week in the polls that we throw up on Twitter during Raw and during Smackdown. This past week, I threw up a poll for every match on the card at Battleground, and I want to know who you think is going to win each match. And speaking of which, let's dive right into it. Let's start with Baron Corbin versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Shinsuke won the poll with 86% of your vote. Here's an interesting thing about this. You have two guys that really can't lose this match, right? Because you've got Baron Corbin is Mr. Money in the Bank. It'd be kind of hard to have that briefcase and then all of a sudden lose. And then you got Shinsuke Nakamura, who is supposedly supposed to be on this huge push. Would be very hard to make him lose to really anybody at this point, unless there's, some heel tactics of, disqualification on behalf of Baron Corbin, which is entirely possible. Now, it's not, and speaking of which, it's not entirely impossible that Baron would lose, even though he's Mr. Money in the Bank. We saw it with Seth Rollins. He lost his match against Orton at WrestleMania and then went to cash in the very next night. So, not impossible for either of these guys to lose. I think you'll see a pretty physical match, but your 86% vote that Shinsuke is going to win is probably pretty accurate. Let's go into the women's five-way match for the number one contendership at SummerSlam. And Tamina, Natalie, and Lana received none of your votes, and Charlotte and Becky were split right down the middle, 50-50 each. And I think that's pretty fair. I think you're going to see one of the two of them come out victorious, unless... Which is interesting because you've got Naomi as the babyface, which again, I don't believe in babyface versus heel, but if we're going to live in a world of realism here, you'd say that maybe Lana had the best actual chance. Me personally, I'd like to see Tamina win. I think that that's somebody who we need to start seeing more from. Does it mean that she deserves a SummerSlam main event? I don't know that necessarily. I'd be very hard pressed to not see either Charlotte or Becky going into SummerSlam in that main event scene for the SmackDown women's side. But hey, Tamina would be a surprise, and then you got to really think about, are we going to see a cash in from Carmella? All right, moving on to the Capture the Flag match with John Cena and Rusev. Your poll results surprised me. 60% of you thought that Rusev was going to win. The majority of you thought Rusev, and I would consider this match probably the lock of the year. John Cena grabbing that American flag and waving it high at Battleground. I have a hard time thinking that he's going to lose, especially with this unfortunate downhill spiral that we're seeing Rusev go down. Here's a guy who I think could be the WWE champion and kind of jobbing out to John Cena, a guy, Cena who doesn't need to have that kind of a victory. I think if you had removed the flag portion of this match, I think Rusev probably would have been the lock to give him that push, to get him back into that main event stature that he's kind of lost over the past couple months. But I would be hard-pressed to think that any flag other than good old Glory is going to be waved at the end of that match. All right, another 50-50 vote here is the Tag Team Championships of Usos and New Day, both of them receiving 50% of your vote. And you know what, guys? I think that is pretty darn accurate. I think both of these guys are at the top of their game. I think it's going to be a fantastic match on both parties. I don't want to see any of these stupid finishes of the countouts or intentional disqualifications. I want to see something clean in the ring. Here's the opposite end of the spectrum. AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens. AJ Styles received 100% of your votes, saying that he was going to retain his United States Championship. I don't know. I think it'd be silly to take it off of him at this point. Plus, I also think having AJ Styles going into SummerSlam with that championship is going to be a cool visual. So I don't think that they're going to let AJ Styles lose, but this is Kevin Owens we're talking about. Any program with Kevin Owens has a lot of twists and surprises. Case in point, AJ Styles won that championship at a house show at Madison Square Garden. So if you think that we can't be surprised, look back a couple weeks and you will be proven wrong. All right, in the main event of the Punjabi prison match, I threw up 3 choices for this poll. Number 1 being Orton, number 2 being Jinder, and number 3 being a Baron Corbin cash-in. 43% of the vote went to Jinder, 43% of the vote went to Orton, and 14% of your vote went to Baron Corbin. I think it would be difficult for Baron Corbin to cash in on a match like this because then it would involve him getting into the Punjabi prison and then getting himself back out. Maybe that's a little convoluted in my opinion. Doesn't mean that after a brutal match between these two that we couldn't see that thing raise up and then Baron Corbin come out at the end. I think that you have a better chance of Jinder going into SummerSlam as the champion and probably in a program with John Cena, although I haven't heard any confirmations of rumors on that. But I think something that is 100% likely to happen in this match is one of the Singh brothers nearly dying after taking probably one of the most wicked bumps possible off of one or more portions of this Punjabi prison cell. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you're excited about. Let me know what you're not excited about. Hit that thumbs up button. I always appreciate that. Consider subscribing so you hear all of our poll topics and all of our pay-per-view predictions. Thank you again, guys, and I will talk to you soon.